are presenting these archaic, kind of non-Western, if you will, traditions, but we're kind of fusing them with Western sensibilities, including equal-tempered bass lines and chords and stuff like that. So as I mentioned, the perfect fifth, or the whatever fifth, is created when you stack neutral seconds. Isn't so important in this tradition, and so it's kind of the first thing to go. So we can introduce then harmony with like drones or whatever by with the use of the yohikko or iso kantele here.
So how yohikko is tuned?
Oh yeah, because the yohikko is basically it has a drone note, which is the tonic, and then the tonic, and then the drone note in the middle is the low, the low, what would be a perfect fifth, and then the melody string is note 2 in the scale, and so the second is the next thing that is going to be kind of like squeezed into Western temperament, if we're going to play any sort of what we kind of think of as psychedelic rock, neofolk. But the thing that is going to stick around most is going to be that neutral third. So here we have, I'm holding this thing going, what is this? So this is a Swedish harmonies, and so Finland was of course under occupation of Sweden for many centuries, and so the west coast of Finland still has a strong Swedish influence, including the dance polska and associated dances like that. So one kind of stand-in for the skuduche is going to be this Swedish pipa, where it mostly is tuned to Western tuning, but the neutral 3 still exists. So we're going to play another Sutartinė, but then we're going to show you again we're going to allow the pipa to exist in its own natural habitat in the polska after that.
Sutartinė
as many folk traditions was not written. It was like family to family, given like spread tradition, and it's actually died out from its natural sources. Now only survives in the big cities in Lithuania. They have festivals and they kind of singing now like more big city people, and but they had as well one of those presentations. We have as well vocabulary, and to remember tunes, especially if it's played in the instruments like wind, they have a specific words like ti 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 ta ta to ti te, which is kind of referred to rhythm and the melodies, so you could remember. And many of those sound words end up part of Sutartinės tradition. And that's why one of the important part of what is Sutartinė tradition. It has lots of those how that word in English, mnemonic words. Some of them feels like there was some kind of meaning but it's lost. Some of them is actually pure imitation of sound, and it's really a lot. So many of Sutartinė like refrains like suduno, tuto, duno, chuta, chutela, sudiyo, diuta, lilo, and many is like except probably in two songs, like in two parts, like in 3 and 4 they use like half. There's like one line of the text which is changing by maybe one word. It has very primitive stories. And then the rest is just refrain, like we sang before, trapolilo, and what I want to say.
Actually, if I can sort of interject,
Yeah.
That trapolilo is probably associated, according to Daiva, with the word trap would be like kind of stepping. So if you're I guess seating your flats, then you would dance one of these trapolilo dances to kind of then stamp down the soil, which apparently I guess at that time made the flax grow better.
Yeah, it's the one thing we cannot figure out how to show in our duo, but yeah, it's kind of very interesting, like singing and dancing at the same time. So, can you talk about adding baseline?
Yeah, so here's an example of where we have the first 5 notes of the scale are going to be in the Sutartinė tuning with the skiriche and vocals, and then that leaves then the remaining notes with a little bit of overlap. I'm going to play a very kind of simple, but you can get the idea of hopefully not too abrasively cacophonic bass line and drone yohiko as an accompaniment for the remaining sort of part of the scale as the vocals.
Yes, the tune in development just recently from this archival material we learned. So, see.
Sutartinė, the regression of Sutartinė in the 20th century. So Daiva was talking about how, you know, these instruments like skuduce or like long horned dudas or stuff like that were kind of thought of as melody instruments in the 20th century, but they're really actually kind of like just kind of chordal instruments, quite frankly, in the tradition. And so that last thing that we did while we were singing our voices separately, imitating specifically the sound of just a single instrument at a time with each single voice is more true to the concept of Sutartinė as like just like different instrument or different kind of voices sounding, as opposed to thinking of it as like a melody, and it's just more like just kind of shots of kind of diaphony. Yeah, but talk about the
20th century, okay. So, yeah, so the 20th century, 19th century, like for many, so we were very late to collect any folk songs due to Russian power restricted written word and Lithuanian, and then even traveling to those regions or do any Lithuanian related stuff. So only kind of come down and was allowed around 1910 or 8 something, like finally, where we finally could go. And we have as well 2 World War IIs and there's a lot of devastation. So finally they managed to collect Sutartinė only around and published the big 3 books over 1,000 Sutartinė in the 1940s, and but when they were collected already, it was like died off tradition, and many singers were not, because you had to sing in 2. There was just one who's surviving and trying to remember things. So sometimes there's collected lots of not really kind of structured well, like you can't really sing it because it's have to align in a certain way. And it's interesting as well, like when it's dying off, at the same time was a revival happening, and many composers start to first composers didn't believe that Lithuanians could sing like that. They refer to it as a crocodile singing in the dissonance in the second, because they believe Lithuanians sing nice folk songs. Later on, they especially influence of this Finnish researcher, they kind of give it like, oh, this is pretty cool. Then they start to, especially like the skuduce was start to adapt it, but they decided that all these intonations and all these rhythmic things is actually should die out because it's not that important. So they added more, started to do harmonies, and the whole process, as many probably nations happen in Europe, is Europeanization of you have to make instruments, you use the folk instruments but then change them so they can play European classic music, which is supposed to be a good thing. So that's what happened, and many things like died off, and then I think another revival happened just before break from Soviet Union, like 80s. They start to remake the instruments again the way they're supposed to be. So one of the Sutartinė we're going to sing, we sing a bellita or...
Actually, that's right. I'll go back into the... Okay. So yeah.
Any of those.
Yeah. Okay, so the one thing about both the Finnish and Lithuanian traditions that we're interested in is that kind of their whole cosmology is built into the traditions, and so in the case of Sutartinė, the one aspect of the cosmology is based on like just duality. So you have a juxtaposition of like the sukun, that is the is the most obvious juxtaposition, but then you also have juxtaposition of different vocal timbres, different like vowel sounds. So you have like oo against e kind of thing. That's going to create a specific clash. You have juxtaposition of dark voices against bright voices, that kind of thing. And also juxtaposition of rhythms. And so what is really influential for me is these syncopated rhythms, and I use them a lot in the bass lines, but this is theorized to come from an ancient duck hunting rituals where if you've ever seen, like in around here, you'll see it with the killdeer, but apparently in Europe it happened with the duck, where the duck would limp in order to lead its predators away from its nest. And so the duck hunters would imitate this limping dance. And
it's actually used in Sutartinė dancing, the limping as well.
Exactly, and so the syncopated rhythms show up then also in the Sutartinė singing, and they're also juxtaposed against each other, so you get like my long notes against her short notes kind of thing. And so that's the one thing about ducks, and then but the other thing about ducks, of course, is that in both traditions, what existed before the universe itself? The duck laid an egg which became the universe. In both, Finnish tradition for sure. That's true of Finnish tradition as well.
Sure.
Well, okay, maybe I'll have to reread the book. And then so this next 50 minutes, okay, this next song is about ducks, and then we'll switch to
heterophonic.
Heterophony, yeah. Do you want to talk about two different things? No?
It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, I was important actually. So we combined two, in this composition, we combined two Sutartinės. They both the same title. The first line is actually the same, but one is for wedding, it's a love Sutartinė, and another one is hunting Sutartinė. So both starts the same way, hey, duck, come over to me. And first one, it was like duck who invited and said, oh, this is a great river, big grass, there's lots of fish, we're gonna have lots of babies together. Where ducklings, where in second, there's another voice saying, don't go, they're gonna catch you, they're gonna cut your head, they're gonna peel you and put in the cat like in a bowl and gonna boil it. So that's what we're gonna do.
going to take you to the forests of Eastern Finland. We're going to go up to talk about a little bit about the Finnish runolaulu tradition, and so this material was like during the sort of the nationalism movement of the early 1800s, and you probably heard Trisha Postel's talk where she was saying, you know, everybody kind of wanted to collect their material and then create the next Homeric epic. This happened in Finland, of course, with the Kalevala, but the source material from that is what we draw from. You know, I've been playing Finnish music for 15 years, but it wasn't really until 2017 that I went to Finland and studied vocal with Emmi Kuittinen, and she taught me about the concept of folk heterophony. And this really, for me, opened the doors to the interpretation of folk traditions. And you know, I had first, of course, heard about it with the Eastern Finland and Karelia tradition, but I've come to discover, and especially with this wax cylinder recording project we're doing, it's basically found all over in the Sutartinė tradition, even though the Sutartinė tradition is theoretically pretty strict on its structure. So heterophony then is basically, as opposed to, again, this polyphonic tradition, the idea of everybody just kind of understanding what the basic structure of the melody is, but really just kind of making little minor improvisations over the course of that melody. And of course, when I first heard about it, it's just like, oh yeah, it's like free jazz, right? But then you know, now I've come to understand the nuances and the sort of the vocabulary again that goes along with it. And so now I find what I'm really drawn to is, again, those ephemeral sort of seconds and stuff like that appear when you're singing heterophony. And really for me, this is like, you know, in this time when we're reviving folk, especially in the face of, like, you know, Russian aggression and that kind of thing, I find that, you know, in a lot of you know, diasporic communities in Toronto, like, they'll have these long texts with this like very simple melody, and that's like because they prize their polyphonic tradition. They'll say, oh no, that's a boring song, let's get rid of that. And to me, that is kind of, you know, if you will, a dangerous act to just kind of discard that whole repertoire from your tradition. So for me, heterophony is what really kind of is able to breathe new life in our, you know, both in, that's what they would have done in the tradition itself, and that's what we can still do today to keep these sort of long, boring texts in our repertoire. So we're going to sing about a woman who's crying. Her tears make 3 lakes. From each lake is 3 islands. From each island there's 3 birch trees, and on each, I don't know, limb there's 3 cuckoo birds calling for love and joy and perhaps a suitor. with, because it's just kind of a nice kind of meditative groove. But where we came up with this, like, sort of the repetitive meditative arrangement is that there was just kind of one moment in a field recording that where one of these ephemeral secundas kind of occurred. We took the ephemerability away from it and made it we just want to rock it. This song comes from Ingria. I'll allow you to research the dead culture of Ingria on your own time. But suffice it to say, this is a spring song where you plant your grain and swing as high as you can. The higher you swing, the better the grain will grow. Labyrinth Conference, the World, Western and World Conference for having us here. We want to thank the Music Gallery for opening this space for us. And our next show, of course, is next Wednesday. We have the third Wednesday of every month is our residency at the Transac, in which we are basically really digging into these Niemi wax cylinder recordings in order to develop our repertoire for our tour of October, Lithuania in October. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the much larger orchestra that is about to follow.